الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وسيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء صلوات. First and foremost, we all send our salam to the owner of this azah, the host who has invited us all here, the Imam of this time. And I send my salam to the scholars before me and the believers before me. Assalamu Alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It has been a great honor to come and commemorate with you the azah of Abu Abdullah. Please forgive any limitations of mine which hindered the message coming to you. We've talked about a few concepts. One of the things that we've talked about is that we have to include the zawil huquq in our ibadah. Every single action that we can connect to Allah is an ibadah. And every single action that we cannot connect to Allah, because He's told us not to do it, hence becomes the opposite of ibadah. We have to include our zawil huquq in all of our ibadah. We also talked about the idea that you have to digest with fikr, by means of fikr, that which you generally know, by means of zikr. What you've gotten by means of zikr, you have to digest by means of fikr. Otherwise, you're following the steps of shaitan. And we gave examples and analogies and showed how that's the case. We also have covered the idea that in fact, Rahmaniya needs to be converted into Rahimiyya via a free will mechanism that includes fikr, thinking. Okay. We also covered the idea that in fact, every single thing before us and around us that is giving us capacity to grow is nothing but the rahmah of Allah. Okay. And that should lead you to ask a question, but what are the difficulties, what are the hardships? And we covered that by explaining that in fact, you are not worshipping bricks, you are worshipping Allah by doing sajda to the house made of bricks. Remember that. In fact, it's not even ancient bricks. It's new bricks. How so? Yazid Mal'un ruled for 3 years. Okay? And each one of the years, he did actions which till the end of time will be the highest thing remembered as zulm, basically. Okay? And that is why till the end of the time, Yazid became that brand really for dhulm. We say Yazidiyat. Okay? Because his actions were so. Now, what did he do? One of the times he attacked the Kaaba and he broke it down. Okay? And then after a while, when Hajjaj was around, they tried to rebuild the Kaaba. Every single individual who went in and tried to rebuild the Kaaba was attacked by snakes. If you look at our history, this is there. Okay, and then the people gathered and said, there's only one person who's going to actually help us now. Only one person. They went to Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. And they requested his help and his assistance to come and rebuild this particular Kaaba. Imam Sajjad went in alone first and laid some foundations, and then came outside, and only by his permission, the people who he had told, they could come in. Otherwise, the others were getting attacked by snakes. The Kaaba, we have that thing that every single person is doing sajda to. Every single person doing sajda to that owes it to who? Imam Sajjad himself. we have to be thankful to the Zawil Huquq. Salawat, please. One of the questions that had been posted and asked of me is, who are the Sabiqun? This is actually very much in link with our topic and our whole series. And in fact, that is why I will open this particular answer here now. So, you see, continuing with the speck and ant analogy that I've been talking about so far, a good ant is somebody who doesn't give a fish to the speck. A good ant is somebody who teaches the speck how to fish. Okay? I'm not a good ant, but I'm trying to be, so I'm going to try to teach you how to look for the answer from the Quran itself. I'm not going to give it to you. Okay? Salawat, please. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduces the Sabiqun in the Holy Quran itself. Okay? He tells you all the things that are surrounding them. Okay? And then He says something about them. If you look at those verses, He tells you all about things that are surrounding them. He tells you something about the fact that they're reclining, in fact, and He tells you something about something that they hear, basically. Okay? Now, we have to be very, very attentive readers and listeners when we're in the presence of the Holy Quran. For example, if I told you that today I've had an apple, I've had a glass of water, and I've had some ice cream, right? Instead of just getting focused on the apple, the water, and the ice cream, you have to go beyond that and see what do those three things represent. Okay? So I've had food, I've had, so that a human has a couple of needs, multiple needs, right? So one of the needs of the human is that he needs food. I've had the apple is a representation of the food, the need of the human, the nafs, which is that he requires food to be fulfilled. The apple is a representative of that. Okay? Don't get stuck on the apple. Go beyond that to see what does it represent. Then you have the idea of the water. Okay, so I have some sort of a liquid. One of the things that a human nafs cannot tolerate is thirst. So the need of the human nafs to quench the thirst is also present before him. He's had that. Okay? And the third thing was ice cream. He needs dessert too. Ice cream represents dessert, for example. It means something else, we don't have time for that. Okay? Now Allah tells you about these things that are around these sabiqun, right? And after that He says basically, they hear nothing but qilan salaman salama. Okay? They will hear nothing but salam. In the first lecture that I gave over here, the first line that I said, actually it was not me saying it, Allah put on my tongue, was what? Inna Allah huwa salam. Okay? One of the names of Allah is what? Salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever asked this particular question, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before He gave the question to you as a rahmah, He gave the guidance to you before that. He put the guidance on my tongue. Neither I am special nor you are. He is giving both the question and the answer. Okay? He is assisting and sustaining both the one who's giving the answer and both the one who's taking the answer. Understanding that is very important. Salawat, please. So it says, Qilan salaman salama. What does that mean? Into salawat, please. I would like to give all of you a gift. Okay? And what I'm saying right now, I will link to something that, inshallah, is a gift to all of you from me. Okay? You see, when a speck who does not understand, right, says, qilan salaman salama, right, what does he see? He says, well, perhaps these individuals who are there, who are reclining on chairs, right, they are they're hearing something over there in the heaven. Actually, something very, very different is happening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by telling that particular thing, is not just telling you something that is happening in the heaven. Why? Because right now, who you are right now over here, unless that particular item was able to directly pull you from here to there, he would not tell you that because it's not information that you need. Okay. For example, if you have a baby in the womb, okay, and you go into the womb to the baby and you tell the baby, hey, listen, to get a G license in Ontario, these are the things you have to do. Okay. And you would never do that because that is not something the baby needs right now. Right? He will find that out once he comes out. There are things about the heavens that we will find out once we get there, once we pass away, when the connection is gone. So now every single thing about the heavens and the unseen world that is being told to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means that is something that we desperately need to know because we need that to get there. Okay. So I will go to the fetus and say, you need to practice breathing. You need to expand your lungs and unexpand your lungs. And he does that before birth. Okay? Because that is something he drastically needs. That's the first thing he needs right away. Otherwise, he won't be able to succeed. Otherwise, he will not be able to get that G license. Okay? But the advice that's being given, right, to us in this particular dunya is extremely, extremely important for us. That itself needs to be taken as there. So this qeel and salam and salama is very important. Salawat, please. Did Allah say salam? No. He said qeel and salam and salama. You could have said, they hear nothing but salam. Okay. He said, they hear nothing but salam and salama. So they will hear the name of Allah, right? But if that's what if Allah wanted to just say basically that they're hearing my name, he could say yasma'una salam one time. They hear salam. Instead he says la yasma'una illa, and then he says something else. He says qilan salaman salama. They don't hear except they hear salaman salama. But this qeel is very important. He's telling you they hear nothing but the name of Allah. Okay? Nothing but the name of Allah. See, we use our ears to hear and we use our eyes to see, correct? So whenever we want to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we're blind, right? We hear the names of Allah. Okay? If we're not able to see certain actualities and realities, right? Then we hear the names of Allah. Okay? But some individuals can see realities. And then they see not the name, the face. There are two ways you can introduce me on the poster. One time, right, you write my name. And the other time, you put my face. Okay. When you write my name, the person has to sound it out and make a voice, and it's heard, basically, whether through the outer ear or the inner ear. Okay, Syed Kamil is different than the face of Kamil. Correct? Understand that? Okay. So now we understand that, in fact, these sabiqun, they're very, very high. Every single thing around them is, in fact, the highest of the highest blessings. Every single thing around them is the highest of the highest blessings. What is it? It is hurul eens and food and lu'lu and so on and so forth and the best of the best, but they're not occupied with that. They're not hearing huri, they're not hearing food, they're not hearing water, they're not hearing apple, they're not hearing ice cream. Every single thing around them, they're hearing from it nothing but the name of Allah. These individuals in heaven, they are there at such a level where every single thing that is around them, they are hearing nothing but the name of Allah. That qeel is very important. Meaning they're giving absolute, because qeel is a majhul. Basically, it does not, what it's saying is, it does not matter who's saying it. What matters is what is being said. That's what that qeel represents. Okay? Over there, they get to that particular station and they're saying, it does not matter what is saying it. All we care about is that we hear salam, the ism of Allah. Meaning even over there, at the highest level, they're still not occupied with those blessings. At the highest level, they're still not occupied with those blessings. Even those blessings they're using to go beyond it. Towards what? The ism of Allah. Salawat, please. See, sometimes we think that the sabiqun are the highest. It's not the case. Okay? There are those that are higher. You see, individuals who are blind or close to being blind, not fully blind, individuals who are close to being blind, they use their ears. Okay? They see they can't see, so they use the ears to hear the ism of Allah. Then there are those individuals who, it's not the case, they're not blind. Their eyes are completely open. Right? They're not limited to hearing only. Then they see the face of Allah too. Okay? But now there is one level higher. Individuals who are not just seeing the ism of Allah, they are seeing, they're not hearing the ism of Allah, they're seeing the face of Allah. Okay? Now you understand basically that when the Holy Prophet says basically that Amirul Mu'mineen is Wajhullah himself. Amirul Mu'mineen is Wajhullah himself. This is very important. Okay. Now, even amongst these individuals, the highest of the high, the thing that they're actually hearing and seeing. Okay. The thing that they're hearing and they're seeing. Amirul Mu'min is the wajh of Allah, the face of Allah. Okay. When you have my face on the particular poster, correct? Is that me? Or is this me? This is me, correct? But that is my face. If that does not lead you to me, then you're in trouble. You're not looking at it as my face. You're looking at it as a bunch of lines and colors. Correct? So now these sabiqun are those individuals who understand that. But they're not able to see, they're not strong enough to be in the presence of the face, but they're able to hear the ism of the face. The ism of who the face belongs to. Okay? Salawat, please. Okay, let's digest what I just said, because digesting is very, very important. Otherwise, we get into trouble. Otherwise, it's all just theory. Okay? So when you understand that Imam Ali is the face of Allah, what does that mean? What benefit does it have? Let's look at that. So when you tell that Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam got off basically the chest of a speck, he was about to kill a speck and he got off the chest of a speck, okay? And you say that, look how great he is, he was able to control his anger. Okay? You are doing an unimaginable dhulm on him and yourself. An unimaginable. You can't imagine how big of a dhulm you're doing on him and yourself. Let me explain how. I'll explain through an example. Imagine, my daughter is right here. My 4-month daughter is right here. I go towards picking up my daughter. Okay? And I pause for a moment. Okay? And then I pick her up. And somebody watching that says, MashaAllah, what a great Sayyid. He wanted to punch his daughter, but he instead picked her up. He translates that pause into me controlling my want to punch the daughter. Okay? What would you tell that person? Azizam, dilam, spekam, o didam. At least say something that makes sense, that is worthy of Sayyid. Clearly, he doesn't want to punch the daughter. Correct? In fact, you might actually, in a daqiq manner, say, please don't disrespect Sayyid. Correct? Okay. So what about the Baba of all Sayyids? The wajh of Allah. Okay? So when he got off the chest of somebody, he's the wajh of Allah. Please don't say that it was because he was trying to control his anger. Na'udhu billah. Salawat, please. But if I'm going to go pick up my daughter and I pause for a moment, there's definitely a reason, right? Every wise person does something for a reason. That's the essence of wisdom. And Allah is the all-wise, that means all of His existence, all of His creatures has some speck of wisdom in them, basically. Okay? Every single one of His creatures, because they're connected. Every sun ray, because it's connected to the sun, must have some attribute of the sun at some level. True? Okay. So now, when a person is going towards picking his daughter, but they stop for a moment, well, you have to understand that everybody does some things out of wisdom, so there's a reason behind that, correct? Now, what is the wisdom behind why Amirul Mu'mineen stopped? Use the same mechanism over there too, my friend. Over here, you'd say, I have to come up with a reason that if I'm going to play the guessing game, guess why, basically, I have to guess a particular reason that is worthy of the person performing the action, correct? Okay. Do the same thing over there. That is my assistance and my gift to you. Whenever we look at the attributes and the fada'il of our Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, it is extremely, extremely important to understand that Shaitan is not happy. Shaitan is not happy with you understanding and digesting those fada'il. In fact, through those very fada'il, he wants to make sure that you do dhulm on them. He is not happy with you just doing dhulm on them. No. He wants to see you jump up and down while you're doing dhulm on them. That's your enemy. That is your open enemy. So now whenever we look at the fadail, we have to understand. And we have to understand the fadail, try our best and understand the fadail based off of certain realities. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's okay to say that perhaps the sun is so grand that I can't possibly fathom what the sun is thinking. Okay? That's okay. But what's not okay is to close your eyes on that. What proof do I have of saying this? One of the Anbiyas was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do my thanks, do shukr to me. He said to Allah, okay, how can I do shukr to you? For every shukr requires a shukr. He said, when you do shukr with this understanding, you do my shukr. Whenever you do dhikr of the fadail of Amir al-Mu'mineen, understand that the level of understanding you've reached is in fact not the actual level. Okay, it's much beyond that, much more beyond that. This will prevent you from stagnancy. Because if you think, I've reached it, I have somehow reached the understanding of how great he is, that is not a motivator to change. Okay? But if you say, I have not reached it, I love him and I have not reached it, that is a motivator to change. And to do fikr and dig deeper. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, let's summarize. The sabiqun hear nothing else but the ism of Allah. In the heavens, in the samawat, right? They give no attention to anything and everything around them, and that's why the word qeel was used in the ayah, right? Because all they cared was the idea of as-salam, the ism of Allah. And they're like that there because they were like that here. Okay? They're like that there because they were like that here, right here. How? Let me give you an analogy. Let's chew further. Okay. I will give you the analogy just like how the ant teaches the speck how big the world is. The ant, to teach the speck, tells the speck, hey speck, look at me, how big I am. I'm going to tell you something else. The world is bigger than me. Okay. So I will tell you an analogy of people who are less than the sabiqun and tell you the sabiqun are bigger than them. Okay. A level lower than the sabiqun, this is how they feel in this particular dunya. Okay, and this analogy will describe it to you. So imagine that you're watching your favorite, awesome, best movie in the world. Okay, first time you're watching it, you really wanted to watch it. Okay, and the movie is almost at the scene where it is the climax of that particular movie. You're watching Mukhtar Nama, and it is at the climax of Mukhtar Nama. Okay, and your 4-year-old lovely toddler comes to you and says, "What's going on? Why did he say this? What is happening?" Okay. While you're attentive, you're fully glued that basically you have put aside everything else because this was the only time to watch this, and after this, the movie will disappear. Okay, and the 4-year-old toddler is coming to you and saying, "What's watching? What happened?" and so on and so forth. What is the feeling you'll get? Very, very difficult for you, correct? You're saying, "Baba, I want to focus on the ism of Allah. I don't want to focus on Apple. I want to focus on the ism of Allah." Okay. These individuals who are less than the sabiqun, okay, in this particular dunya, they are trying their very, very best to look for Allah everywhere. And this dunya for them is a distraction. Like that 4-year-old toddler. And that is why they feel like they're in a prison. This dunya become a sijn for them. Okay? A prison for them. But why are they lower than the sabiqun? What was the ism of Allah that the Sabiqun heard? It was As-Salam, peace. When that toddler is bothering you, right? Do you feel at peace? No. It bothers you. You're frustrated. Okay? It frustrates you, that's why it's your prison. Okay? This is still a very, very great status, but lower than the Sabiqun. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, let's give some examples of keeping the focus on the essence of things and not getting distracted by its limitations. So that's exactly what this talk was. That we have to look at the essence of items and not get distracted with the limitations of those particular items. Okay? So the goal for babas and mamas is to make sure that the house temperature is livable. They don't want to turn the house into an oven. Okay? Because the oven only develops charcoals. You guys requested me to add on to this particular idea and say more about it. So I will. Salawat, please. You see, when the house environment of the child, and I'm using the house, but teachers can say class environment. Okay, principals can say school environment, and so on and so forth. Whenever the environment is something that is heated, friction within there, okay, the child can pick up friction very, very quickly. Very quickly. When mama and baba fight, child can pick it up. Okay. When teachers have an issue with each other, child can pick it up. When teacher and principal have an issue, child can pick it up right away. Right away. Allah has given the child super sponge powers. Okay. So whenever in the house, I'll keep the house analogy going forward. Whenever in the house there is any difficulty, any sort of heat, that child, what ends up happening is the anger faculty of the child, the more that particular anger faculty finds its right environment, it develops. Okay? That anger faculty in the child, the more it finds the right environment for it, it develops. And by placing that child in an environment which actually develops anger, right? All you're doing is you're making it so difficult for the child that later on, when he develops his intellect properly, he will have to go to the moon and back to control his anger. Okay? You're making sure that basically, instead of having 2 + 2 is 4 be his exam, you are making his exam the square root of 64. Okay. He's still able to do both, huh? He's still able to do both. But instead of nurturing, right, you are not nurturing. Remember, you are the gardener. You're not the one who makes a plant grow. Allah makes a plant grow. The gardener only nourishes. That's it. That's all the gardener can do. He brings the soil and water and so on and so forth. Allah says in the Holy Quran, what? Do you make it grow or do I? He said, no, Allah, we are just the gardeners. We are only ants. All we can do is go to specks and say, grow. You are the one that makes a speck into the sun. Salawat, please. Oven does not mean that it's noisy as well, by the way. This is very important. This is very, very important. Borrow 2 years and listen to this particular point. An oven does not mean that it's noisy in the house. So it might be the case that you're not fighting and yelling and screaming and so on and so forth. That is not an oven. For an oven, heat is what makes an oven, not the noise of it. Okay? So sometimes you can have an absolutely quiet house, but it's still an oven for the child. How so? You place so many restrictions on that particular child, right? Basically, by placing those restrictions, you're telling the child, oh, child, don't be a child. When you tell a child, oh, child, act like an adult, you're doing injustice to that particular child. And you still do it in this particular form. Okay? You say, don't run, don't play with your food, don't jump, don't do this, and so on and so forth. You say things which are not, in fact, that which Allah has commanded you to say to that child in that particular phase. Okay? Allah has told us to do adab of children, correct? Adab means what? It's like pruning. Imagine you have a tree and you want to prune that particular tree. Okay? You will never tell the tree, hey tree, change, you're an apple tree. You will never tell the tree, become a banana tree. No. You will just make sure that anything that is to an extreme, you just prune that. Other than that, the tree's a tree. Grow. Okay? This is very important to understand. Its extreme behaviors, the childish nature must remain. Your only responsibility is to make sure that those extremities are delegated in every environment of that particular child. Make sure that the extremities are delegated. You want to see proof? Proof. Salawat. Look to Imam Hassan and Imam Husayn alayhi salam. When they were children, were they children? Yes, they were. They played, they ran, and so on and so forth. They wrestled. It is narrated when they wrestled, the Prophet would cheer them on. The Holy Prophet would cheer one, Jibreel would cheer the other. You will not find one riwayah where the Prophet says, I'm the Holy Prophet, please be careful. I don't want people to think something bad. You will not find one single riwayah of that. And if you do, please tell me. I'll give you a reward. Okay. Our children are also children. Yes, it's true, they're not Masumeen. The Masumeen had no extremities that required pruning. Okay. But our children, they're not Masoom. But they are the children connected to the Son. They're a child. They need to be a child. They need to run. They need to scream. They need to yell, and so on and so forth. They need to do that. Neither does Allah say, go tell them to yell, go tell them to run, and so on and so forth. Nor does He tell you that prevent them from doing that. He said, listen, I know what I'm doing. I've already put the childish nature within them. I know exactly what their nafs needs to do at the material and action level. All I'm telling you, Baba, Mama, teacher, whichever the role of that particular ant is, okay? All I'm telling you is that just prune it. That's all. If that particular behavior that is naturally occurring goes to an extreme, just prevent the extremity. That's it. If you do more than that, you're putting pressure on that particular child. Okay? If you do more than that, you're putting pressure on that particular child. Pressure is that which provides heat for that particular child. Okay? Salawat, please. So, in reality, we have to understand this particular concept very, very well, which is that every single thing in the world is light. Every single thing in the world is light. It's sunlight connected to the sun itself. Okay? Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. And the nur is opposite of heaviness. It's opposite of heaviness by definition. When we say something is light as a feather, because we can't understand how light is, we say it's light as a feather. We bring something heavier than light. Okay? But the problem is specks can't see that. Specks are blind. So that is why specks see light as 5-kilogram bricks sometimes. Okay? Okay? So now how heavy is a 5-kilogram brick qualitatively speaking? Well, it depends on who's lifting it. If a 1-month-old is lifting it, it has a particular heaviness to it. If a 10-month-old is lifting it, it has a particular heaviness to it. If a 1-year-old or 10-year-old is lifting it, it has a particular heaviness to it. Your very same action, Mama Baba fighting, same action. The effect and heaviness of that for a 1-month-old is different than for a 4-month-old, is different for the 10-month-old, and different for the 1-year-old. Okay. 0 to 7 is extremely, extremely important that parents get it correct, right? Okay. This particular age group is extremely, extremely important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that we were not going to get it right. And that is why He made some rules. Let me explain that further. Salawat, please. When all of you walked in here today, did anybody have to come to announce, please do not hang off the chandeliers or the fans? Nobody had come and told you that particular rule. Why? Because you do not have a tendency to do that. You do not have that. Okay? But perhaps an announcement might be made that please don't park here or park there. Okay? They will tell you that here or there is a place where they suspect that you might have a tendency to park towards, and hence they'll give you a rule. They'll say, don't park here or don't park there. Okay? So whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts a limitation understand that there is a tendency to cross that, and that's why he's put the limitation. Because I know, you do not want to treat your child like a Sayyid, a chief. You don't want to do that. I know you want to make sure that your child understands that you are the Sayyid. Oh, Baba, I know that. You have this particular tendency. I know that. And that is why I will lay the law. I will tell you, listen, 0 to 7, treat them as if they are the Sayyids. So your nafs, as the aunt, as the educator, as the wali, as the father, mother, so on and so forth, your responsibility to understand that your natural tendency, if you go without fikr, without thinking, without intellect, if you let the emotions control you, and sometimes you think when we say that the emotions control you means that we're angry or we're sad. No. Any time you don't have thought, it's your emotions controlling you. Wassalam. Okay? That's very important. Anytime you talk or interact and it's not after thinking of what you're doing, that particular action is not one stemming from your intellect. And by definition, it is stemming from something other than that, which is your emotions. Ghadab or shahwa or waham or something else. Okay? So when you're interacting with that particular child, always interact after thinking. That is extremely important. Salawat, please. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made your nafs and has given it training wheels. Let me explain to you. If you take a baby, you take a 3-month-old baby, okay? That baby could be the baby of your enemy. But Allah has made all the nafs love it, respect it, show rahmah to it, kindness to it, and so on and so forth. Okay? That particular baby. Why? Because that particular baby, that nafs of that particular baby, 5 kilogram is too high for it. Even 1 kilogram is too high for it. So He has put extra special training wheels for everybody, even the enemy. That me, the Rabb, the owner of that particular nafs that I have put into this world, I'm going to give it special security. You want proof? Look at Dua Arafah. I'm going to put special security. I'm going to make sure everybody else has training wheels, whether they're good or bad, because this is something I can't risk. This particular child, 1 month old, 2 months old, is so weak he cannot take even 10 grams, forget 1 kg of pressure. Okay. Then slowly, when that particular danger phase is on, Allah takes the training wheels off. At some particular time, the child gets a little bit older, and he says, okay, now I've taught you and I've shown you basically that the essential trait you should have towards your child is love. Essential trait. Why? Because you are the Rabbayani Saghira. Right? If you are the representative of the Rabb, then you have to have Rububiyyah in your action, period. Rububiyyah in its essence stems from hub, nothing else. Never wrath. It might display wrath, but even that wrath is stemming from hub. That is very important. Okay. So it might be the case that that particular child does something, right, that is annoying or problematic and so on and so forth, and creates a situation where I know I have to fix it. I have to stop them. I can't let them turn the stove on. I can't let them fight, and so on and so forth. And I am required to now show them a restriction and bind them and show some sort of a wrath, some sort of anger. Don't do it, so on and so forth. Okay? But that is my outward action, correct? Nowhere does it say in your heart, be angry and then do that particular action. Never, ever. Even if you're showing ta'deeb, never actually have anger. Ta'deeb, by definition, is something stemming from love. Otherwise, it's darb. The walid is allowed in our deen to do ta'deeb. Okay? The walid is allowed to do ta'deeb. Ayatollah Sistani's fatwa. Okay? Mother can't. She has to have the permission of the father. Okay? What is the difference between ta'deeb and darb? I just told you. Ta'deeb is any outwardly anger particular thing that is anything. It's not just necessarily hitting or anything anger, anything restrictive, right? But that particular restrictiveness has to be sourced in love. You have to have thought first and said, okay, I want to make sure that I don't put pressure on the child. So I will put restrictions at the amount that I'm only pruning the excessive aspects of the child while making sure that the child remains a child, not expecting the child to become a big person. A child cannot sit through 1 hour of lecture, 2 hours of lecture, cannot. An adult barely cannot. Okay. If I tell my child, Baba, you have to sit through 2 hours of lecture, I am telling the child, Baba, be an adult. I have to make sure I get rid of the excessive nature of that particular child while making sure I preserve the child. Otherwise, I'm raising charcoals. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The last point of today is the Holy Prophet tells us, treat your child like he's a Sayyid. He doesn't say they're a Sayyidah. Just treat them like they're a Sayyid. Okay? This is very, very important. We don't have time to go over that. Let's look at the Sayyids now. Okay? Forget the child, now we're looking at the Babas of the household. Okay? A real chief is never at peace. Never, ever, ever, ever. Why? Because, so in today's world, basically, a good example of chief would be a business owner. A business owner, whether he's at work or he's home, he's always at work. If you own a business, or if you own a store, or whatever the case may be, whether you close that store and you go home, you're still thinking about it. Okay? When you're sleeping, you might be dreaming about it. When you wake up, you're thinking about that. In fact, if I tell you, let's go to Kingston tomorrow, you're going to say, wait a second, let me think, does it harm my business somehow? If I tell you, look, Majalis over here is 7 o'clock and over there is 10 o'clock, you'll see, let me see which one is the best for me in terms of my timings. Almost in every single decision, the business owner is looking towards what? The business. The chief is that. The chief of a tribe is an old way of saying owner of a business. Okay? The chief of a tribe, before every single decision he makes, any and out at all, and so on and so forth, he's looking for the development of that particular tribe. Why? Because if that tribe was to fail, he has failed himself. Okay? That chief is an ant from the welfare system of Allah, but from a very special department. From the Ism as-Sayyid. Okay? That particular chief is from a very special department. And that is why the male is been given the authority. The Baba has been given the authority. Why? Because the nafs, which is male, is actually stemming from that particular department of the welfare system. Okay? And the nafs that is female is actually stemming from a different department. Salawat, please. And that is why when the Holy Prophet is trying to advise the Babas, he's saying, Sayyid al-Qawm khadimuhu. Right? The business owner, a good business owner, is one that develops his business. If he ends up making every single one of his employees feel that they want to quit and leave, is he a good business owner? Oh, no. His whole store will close. He is no longer an owner of anything then. The best business owner is one who understands that if I scare everybody away, all my employees, I'm done. So he has to be understanding of his particular position. There's a reason why analogies are there. And if you look at the Holy Quran and the words of the Ahadith, they are from the top to the bottom. If you look at this lecture from the first to the last day, you will see it's the same scenario. Salawat, please. But shaitan does not like you. Understand this. Shaitan is your biggest enemy. Okay? Shaitan, what is he going to do? Shaitan will go to the moon and back and make the citizens of that particular tribe or the employees of that particular business think that the chief or the business owner does not care. Shaitan will go to the moon and back to make sure that the employees and citizens think that the business owner does not care. Why? Because he wants them all to quit. Every single one. He's not happy until they quit. Okay? While the reality is very, very different. The reality is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He said that I want this person to be the business owner because he's from this very specific department, that department has some fitri traits to them. Okay? that department understands that if this business goes away, he's gone away. He is valueless without it. I have made sure I have put that particular idea so deep in him that even if he wanted to, he can't take it out. Part of his fitrah. Okay. And guess what? That's why I've said that if there was to be a firing, it's in the hand of the business owner. Because I've put that particular fitrah so deep within him, so deep within him. It's part of his essence, part of his creation. Who's telling you? The owner of the whole welfare system. Okay? Not a speck like me, no. The owner of the whole welfare system is telling you this. I have given this particular idea in the essence of this person. Even if he wanted to run as far as he can never take it out of him. It's part of his fitrah. He can hide it, he can hide it, he can put limitations on it, but the essence of it he can never take out. And that is why he is, in fact, there. He will always care. But he will never be able, he might have limitations which prevent him from showing that care into actions. And this is the link to our theme. Allah says, I have given him rahmah. But it's true, he might not be able to make it into rahimiyah. That is true. Look at the two ways of looking at these things. Shaitan will come and make sure that you think, you the citizens, you those individuals who are the employees, think that the business owner does not care. In fact, your fiqh and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are telling you to understand that he cares, but he's not able to display it. There's some sort of a limitation. There are differences between the two. The second one, you have an active possibility of a plan happening. Let's get rid of the limitations. We like the actuality, let's get rid of the limitations. The first one is pulling you and pushing you towards throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Okay? That first way of thinking, the way that shaitan wants you to think, that the other person simply doesn't care. Okay? The owner of the business simply doesn't care. Is what? He's trying to get you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. He's trying to drag you to hellfire the same way he is going there. He was not able to convert rahmaniyah into rahimiyah. He's trying to make sure that you don't see that particular idea. You don't even see the rahmah itself. See, if I wanted to fool you all, if I wanted to say, listen, there's some keys that I've hidden here, and I want to make sure that none of you guys find it. Okay? And I'm a limited being, right? Shaitan is limited. This is very important to understand. Shaitan is a limited being. Only Allah is without limit. Everything else has a limit to it. Okay? Even the ma'sumin, hadduhu an la haddalah. Even the ma'sumin, their limit is that they have no limit, but they still have a limit. The ma'sumin, their limit is that they have no limit, but they still have a limit. Shaitan is not a ma'sum, so he has a big limit. Now I have a big limit, but I want to corrupt everybody. What do? I'm going to be looking for the least resourceful way of making my achievements come true. I will try to point you in a direction that the keys are not. I'll have you looking somewhere else. And that means that the further and harder you look, the further you go, the further you're actually going from the keys. I had to do nothing but tell you, look there. That is exactly what shaitan does. He comes and he changes your perception. That's all he has to do. All he has to do is do waswasa. Okay? And your job through your fikr and samt really is to understand that in fact the person who put that particular ant as the head of the house, I am not bowing to the ant. I am bowing to the actual owner of the company who put that particular thing there. That means that there is something in this particular essence of it. He is not the same as me. If me and him were exactly the same, right, I could tell the owner and say, why not me? Right? There is definitely something essentially different between my nafs and his nafs. And that is why the owner said, he has to be there and I have to be here. Okay? Once you see that, then now you can maybe perhaps find the keys. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Throughout this journey, we used the idea of specks and ants a lot. And it was not out of disrespect or being rudeness. I was telling you something else about your nafs and my nafs. You see, the only way we can grow is if we understand that we are a speck and we require an ant. The only way we can grow. So the only way possible for you to be a student is if you understand that you need a teacher. Without a teacher, there's no student. If there's no teacher, there's no student, by the definition. The only way you can be a child is if you have a father, or parent, basically. Not a father, a parent. Okay? And guess what? That is why when Allah makes Nabi Adam, He doesn't make him as a baby, because there's no parent there. But when He makes Nabi Isa, He makes him a baby. There's a parent there. Okay? You cannot be a child without a parent. Okay? You cannot be a wife without a husband. Not possible. You can call this pizza, biryani, whatever you call. Some call it wilaya. Some call this particular relationship wilaya. You cannot go to the sun without going through the various instances of the ray. It is not possible for sunlight over here to be connected to the sun itself unless it is connected to the sunlight 1 millimeter before it. Unless that is connected to the sunlight 1 millimeter before that, and so on and so forth. Okay? It is not possible. In fact, that connection is maintained through that. Okay? Salawat, please. And shaitan will go to the moon and back to make sure you don't see it, and in fact you reject that. You will say, no, I can be a student without a teacher. Shaitan will tell you, I can be an ant without being a speck first. He will come and tell you that. It's not the case. Okay. At any moment we believe that we are an ant and not the speck, we are in trouble. Even while doing the job of an ant, you have to understand you are a speck. At any moment that the husband in the house thinks that he is the chief, that is the very start of him being in hellfire. That is why Amirul Mu'minin says that, and other hadith actually attests to this particular idea as well, that the start of jahl is when somebody says, I'm an alim. Okay? Some riwayat attest to this particular idea. That the start of jahl is that when somebody says, I'm an alim. But not saying that particular thing that you're alim. Truly believing it. Okay, why? Look at every single thing you have. Every single thing you know. Put it on one side of the scale. Now on the other side, put everything that you don't know. Which one is heavier? That one is heavier. That means that you should never call yourself an alim. You should always call yourself what? A jahil. In actuality, inside you are always what? A jahil. Even though you might be acting like an alim. So now this is very important. Any person who claims to be in a higher authority at level of wilaya above somebody else, if they don't understand this, they're going to take themselves and everybody below them to hellfire. How will they take everybody below to hellfire? They'll make sure their tests are not 2 + 2 is 4. They'll make sure their test is square root of 64. That is how they'll take them to hellfire. They'll make sure that the tests that they have to pass now are significantly harder than what it should have been if there was a right person at the driving seat. Okay? So the job now is significantly more. In the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah does not give freebies. There's no freebies. If He has given respect or called you a chief or anything at all, if He has given you any particular title, one iota of title if He's given you, okay? It is because He expects something from that particular item. If He's made you an ant, He has also made specs that you have to lead. You have to lead. Go find them. It is extremely important that we, in our positions of father, in our positions of teachers, parents, including the mom, children, and so on and so forth, understand the overall mechanism of this particular welfare system. The moment we don't understand the overall mechanism, we will doubt in our positions. We'll say, well, I'm the same as him and he's the same as her, and so on and so forth, and we'll get into trouble. And the shaitan's job is exactly that. It's all he wants you to do is look in the wrong direction. Don't understand the mechanism. Because the moment you don't understand the mechanism, any button you press will make it explode. Any button. If I give you my laptop, I'm very comfortable opening this iPad or my laptop and giving it to one of your brothers. But I'm not giving it to my 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 1-year-old. Why? Because that 1-year-old will just smack the buttons. And I don't know what they'll press. And then fixing that is hassle. It's happened to me once. Okay? And that is exactly what the Azab of Abdullah is about too. It's about showing you a role model, right? It's about making sure that you understand who a wali is and what the attributes of a wali is, by showing you in whose shoes you're standing. That's it. So while you're standing in those shoes, you must feel like a speck because you're standing in the sun's shoes. Azizam. Okay. But the purpose of the azan is exactly that, to show you exactly how great that particular owner of the shoe is that you have now found yourself standing in, for whatever reason. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya ibn Rasulillah. My master, you guide us so well. You first told all of us that one of the signs of a mu'min is to recite the ziyarah of Arbaeen. And then you hid within it gems and pearls guiding us to eternity. Master, I read today that you were one for whom there was no cloak of limitations. You called it ignorance. Master, that means that everybody except for you is wearing that cloak. A cloak is something that can be taken off. Ya Aba Abdullah, let us see that in fact the essence of everything is light. And it's only the cloaks of Jahiliyyah limiting them. You showed this to me on the plains of Karbala. You showed this to me on the day of Ashura. Narrations state that it was time for Aba Abdullah to go and fight. He went and he fought the enemies bravely. As Aba Abdullah goes to fight and he's fighting the enemies, while he's fighting, if you look to his words, he starts to give them khitab and guide them. He was trying to make sure that he could shed the cloak of ignorance from them, revealing the true light within them that these cloaks of ignorance had hidden. May Allah accept this qaleel ibadah from us. May Allah allow us to be those individuals who remember Aba Abdullah and who mourn him in trying to get close to him. May Allah allow us to take small steps but consistent steps towards him. Matam Husayn. Ya Husayn. Ya Husayn. Ya Husayn. Ya Husayn. Ya Husayn.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's time for Salah. Inshallah, we'll have nohas after the Salah. Let's prepare for Salah.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي
قد شب فيها اللهيب. أخي امنعي صاح فاسترجعي يا زينب. حسين قضى النحب في كربلاء يا زينب. ورأسه فوق الرماح اعتلى يا زينب. زينب أرجوك صبرا حرقت المواجع بالدمع دون انقطاع. كفى لا تزيد الجراح التهابا وبيني وبينك نار الوداع. بحق أبينا وبنت النبي يا زينب. حسين قضى النحب في كربلاء يا زينب. ورأسه فوق الرماح اعتلى يا زينب. دموع بعين وآه بقلب وشكوى عليل لنجوى عليل. هنا النائحات هنا الظامئات هناك السبايا ورأس القتيل. وتلك النساء ذقن مر الأسى يا زينب. حسين قضى النحب في كربلاء يا زينب. ورأسه فوق الرماح اعتلى يا زينب. وجل القضاء فالحسين قضى بالطفوف مضى فيه راكب المنون. سأرثيه ما عشت وما دمت وأفديه نور العيون. ليروي الصدى فيه جرح الفداء يا زينب. حسين قضى النحب في كربلاء يا زينب. ورأسه فوق الرماح اعتلى يا زينب. حسين قضى النحب في كربلاء يا زينب. ورأسه فوق الرماح اعتلى يا زينب. يا حسين.
يا حسين 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 يا حسين. سادات کربلا سادات کربلا ان کو کربلا میں جو ماری وہ بیبیا. سادات کربلا سادات کربلا چہلم کو کربلا میں جو آئی وہ بیبیا. سادات کربلا سادات کربلا ہر بی بی کر رہی تھی کچھ طرح سے گریا سادات کربلا سادات کربلا چہلم کو کربلا میں جو آئی وہ بیبیاں سادات کربلا سادات کربلا کچھ بیبیاں یہاں ہے کچھ بیبیاں وہاں کرتی ہوئی فغا کرتی ہوئی فغا بکھری ہوئی تھی مقتل سرور میں جا بجا سادات کربلا سادات کربلا چہلم کو کربلا میں جو آئی وہ بیبیاں سادات کربلا سادات کربلا ایک بی دشت خونی میں جاتی ہے نہر پر کہتی بچشم تر کہتی بچشم تر عباس دینے آئی ہوں پرسا سکینہ کا سادات کربلا سادات کربلا چہلم کو کربلا میں جو آئی وہ بیبیاں سادات کربلا سادات کربلا گھٹ گھٹ کے لاڈلی تیری زندہ میں مر گئی تربات وہی بنی تربات وہی بنی بھیا وہ قید سے نہ ہوئی مر کے بھی جدا سادات کربلا سادات کربلا چہلم کو کربلا میں جو آئی وہ بیبیاں سادات کربلا سادات کربلا اکبر کی قبر پر یوں ہوئی لیلا نوحہ گر دیکھا نہ سال بھر دیکھا نہ سال بھر آئی ہو قید شام سے اب ہو کے مہرہا سادات کربلا سادات کربلا چہلم کو کربلا میں جو آئی وہ بیبیاں سادات کربلا سادات کربلا بانو یہ بین کرتی تھی اے میرے بے زباں ماں ڈھونڈے اب کہاں ماں ڈھونڈے اب کہاں بتلا دے ہے کہاں میرا اصغر کربلا سادات کربلا سادات کربلا چہلم کو کربلا میں جو آئی وہ بیبیاں سادات کربلا سادات کربلا کچھ بیویاں یہاں ہے کچھ بیویاں وہاں کرتی ہوئی فغا کرتی ہوئی فغا بکھری ہوئی تھی مقتل سرور میں جا بجا سادات کربلا سادات کربلا چہلم کو کربلا میں جب آئی وہ بیبیاں سادات کربلا سادات کربلا یا حسین 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 یا حسین
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفناء